Welcome to the Sirens of the Mother podcast, a place where we wax lyrical about all things mother, from the divine to the downright dirty. And it's my pleasure to have you here as we cut through the noise and distortions of our current narratives. Welcome to another episode of Sirens for the Mother. And this is my beautiful friend and soul sister, Theresa Puckett. And I met Theresa, some years ago online in a container that we were in together. And we've travelled through different containers and watched our journeys change and grow. But one of the biggest journeys that we've witnessed in each other is the transition of, we're going to call it empty nest. For now.
Yeah.
For now.
Until we have a better phrase.
Until we have a better phrase. And it will probably come through on this call. So I just want to introduce Theresa. Do you want to say a bit about yourself?
Oh, sure. I am so happy to be here with you, Coco. So I am a mother of two young men. And what I don't even know where to start about myself, but my husband and I picked up and moved away from them. They are only 20 and 21 now, but 2 years ago, we picked ourselves up and moved 7 hours away. And that really began a pretty interesting journey for me, and a lot of knowings and developments from there. But yeah, I think for this call, that's probably a relevant introduction.
Yeah. And I really wanted to speak to you about this because before we got on the call, we were talking about these transitions that women go through and how they're framed in the collective is not always helpful and not always in a way where it's empowering. And for me, it was one of the biggest thresholds of letting go of the energetics and the container of being mother, stepping into now I say I'm on the edge of elderhood. I'm learning, I'm a novice. Between that and what they call the crone years, there's like a gap that just doesn't get talked about. It gets talked about. No, I will say it does get talked about, but it gets talked about in a way that I often feel is demeaning to women going through that passage, because the minute we start to get older or begin the journey into menopause, I don't know what happens to the English language, but it's like you may as well be just, give up.
Yeah, it's very belittling, right? It's very belittling.
It doesn't talk about it as an empowered thing in any kind of field. There are pockets of it, but it's not the major narrative. And when we were speaking earlier, you asked me some questions about a project that you're putting together for your own brand. And one of the first words that you asked was about it sounds weird now saying it because we've had a massive discussion about this, but saying about how the emptiness was a crisis. How did I deal with that as a crisis? And I was like, crisis? Was it meant to be a crisis?
Who said it was a crisis?
And apparently this is kind of like the narrative that is in the collective on the whole, that the empty nest, when our children leave or when we leave our children, somehow we're meant to make it a crisis. And we reframed it in the end of it's just as pregnancy is an entry into motherhood, the emptiness nest is an exit out of motherhood. So how can we reframe that in a way where it's empowering, so that that next phase of our life, we can actually stand erect as full embodied, powered women? Because, oh my God, is it needed? Hell yes.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It,
There's like a vacuum out there. It's like a giant sucking sound, like sucking all the power and all the beauty really out of this phase.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah.
And actually I loved and I think you said it too before when we were talking about it's like this is a rite of passage
Mhm.
much more than a crisis. It can feel very destabilizing, but we don't have to think of it as a crisis. It's
Mhm.
a transition into something else beautiful, but
Yeah,
different. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because I think I was saying earlier around the fact that somehow we've got into this kind of way of framing things as crisis when it's not. The
Right.
transitions and the loss of sense of identity is a thing that people are taking as a crisis,
Hmm.
but that's what's supposed to happen, i.e., our identity is meant to shift and change as we go through the thresholds of womanhood.
Right.
And this is one of the biggest thresholds that was wiped out of the collective psyche because we had maiden, mother, crone, and the bit in between mother and crone was somehow obliterated out of the consciousness. And I wonder why. Because for me, it's one of the most powerful, potent portals that we can go through as women when our biology begins to change and we begin to get to the perimenopause stage, but also energetically how we detach or our children detach from us energetically, just as they attached to us energetically when we were
Carrying
gestating
them.
them, yeah, incubating them, birthing them,
Hmm.
transitioning them through their childhood years. There comes a point when energetically we have to sever that tie. And that is where most people see it as a crisis. And
Yeah.
you were speaking about the interference that can kind of happen, or I was talking from that perspective of the interference as a mother not letting go of that role that can happen
Hmm.
when we don't see it as an identity shift and we see it as an identity crisis.
Yes, yes. And you said something interesting just there too. Like we have to sever that tie. And I actually would love to dive into that because for me it's natural for the child, the young adult to be pulling away and they're trying to sever it. But then if we as the mother don't we resist that and we don't actually let that happen and even encourage
Mm-hmm.
that to happen, then there's a lot of energetic consequences, including relationship with our child. But that's I think that's the power of this is yes, we allow that severance, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can move into this new stage and this new beautiful, I mean, coming into our own power.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you said too, I wonder why this phase has been wiped out. And I heard someone say recently, what better way to make a certain set of people, a certain set of very powerful people into something that's not a threat at all is to make them believe that they are less, make
Mm-hmm.
them believe that they are small and that they have problems and things like that. And I mean, I don't want to go conspiracy theory or anything like that, but I really feel like if we can awaken um, the knowledge and the guidance around this stage, then there will be so much more power in the women in this world, and it will be a great thing for the planet.
Absolutely. It's not even a question of that it will be, it has to be. If we want to talk about crisis, even though I don't see what's going out in the world as crisis, it needs women to wake up to the full embodied power, to be able to maneuver the minutia out of the way so that we can create, a better world for everyone. But if we are buying into the narrative that as we go through this threshold that we're getting old, invisible, decrepit,
Weak.
yeah, we not of any use, all these things that we get told that our body is deteriorating, all these things, our body doesn't deteriorate at that time. The hormonal changes that happen around that time when we're moving into the threshold of not becoming mother anymore and moving into an empowered state is so that we can go inwards and feel our power. So that we can clear the dross out of the way.
And there's a lot of dross.
There's a lot of dross because we don't, unfortunately, we're living in a world where we don't get time to be full-time mums, as in, or the space to be mum and really process and be ourselves completely as well. It's a process, it's a juggling act. So by the time we get to that threshold when, like you said, our offspring, our young, are doing the rebellious thing to begin to stretch that thing, there is so much unprocessed things that are left in the psyche of women so that by the time they get to that phase of emptiness,
right, I know,
there's so much that comes to the surface,
right, because there's finally room for it. There's finally starting to be room for it to come to the surface.
Exactly. But then again, we pathologize all that in some way because we're not taught that that is the actual process of what's happening. It is a death and a rebirth into a new energetic of elderhood.
Right. We're told, oh, there's something wrong with you. This needs to be fixed. This is wrong too. This needs to be fixed.
Exactly. And even the notion of empty nest, it's like the nest is meant to get empty. I always find that phase really a really weird little phase. It's like the nest is meant to be empty. We are meant to transition.
Absolutely. And I love the word that you used to describe the power too, embodied power. It's not a mental thing. It's not a, brush it off and get on with your life kind of thing. There is this space, and really feeling into your body, getting more in tune with your body is a big part of it. It's a huge part of it. Everything is connected.
I really want to talk about, because we both did it very, very differently. You took yourself out of the process. Mine was that my daughter left and I was initiated into the process. And when I was saying before about there was some shame around it in how long it took me to kind of get out of that. But then when we sat and spoke about it, it was the fact that when we become mothers, it can take us up to 2 years to get into that role of mother.
Like the rhythm of it.
The rhythm of it, the understanding of it, the pattern of being mother, and energetically for our bodies to shift and come back into full form, the closing of the bones. And so for me it was looking at it that, okay, if it's taken me that long to initiate into motherhood, it's going to take me that long to initiate out of motherhood. And to change the narrative around that. And I was lucky, as in 4 to 5 months into my process, a group of women that I'm connected to called Cafe Mama and Cafe Femme, we came together, and there was a group of 4 or 5 of us in our 30s. One was 30, 40, I was in my 50s, and they were an elder that was 60, and then another elder that was 70 that came in and out. And to be able to sit and listen to elders about that transition, because energetically, when I said sever the cord,
Mm-hmm.
it actually is an energetic severing of the umbilical cord at that stage. And it feels like a grieving process. It does feel like a grieving process because you are energetically shifting. But if nobody tells you that that's actually the portal that you're going through, it can feel very discombobulating because your sense of identity doesn't just go on a physical or a mental level, it's on a physical and an energetic level as well. And I don't think it's really spoken about, or if it is spoken about, I think we were saying it's spoken about in the way that it's like almost like victimized as the mother of, oh, I am left on the shelf kind of thing.
Right.
As
Right.
if there's no life beyond doing that.
Yeah, like now your use is done. You know, you've been useful, and now
Yeah.
you can just hang out.
Yeah. And it
Yeah.
can feel like that, actually. It can feel like your use is over because we're not taught that it is a threshold, and that on the other side of that, there is space to be yourself, to let your power rise, to let the thing that has been calling from the depths of your being to be birthed into this new process, a new era, to let it rise and show itself.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I mean, I think for some of us, there's been something gnawing and or something that has been calling. And then for some of us, we haven't heard it because we've been so deep in the depths of the mothering and so comfortable and so happy to be in that role that when it's not there, it's like it's crickets, it's a vacuum, it's oh my goodness. And I know that there, you know, fathers go through something when their kids leave
Mhm.
too, but it is different. And
Mhm.
when half of the population does not go through what the other half does, and it happens to be a bit more of a um, patriarchy at the moment. So when you know they're not going through the things, I just feel like a lot of women feel like, well, what is wrong with me? And they can't, or maybe even they don't want to because they want to go back, right? They want to go back. They don't want to step into this unknown thing because they loved it the way it was. And that's scary. And so I think it's difficult to have someone besides a woman who has gone through it to help you through that.
Mhm. Yeah, because the narrative out in the world is not favourable to this phase of the life. Let's just say it as it is. It's not favourable, and I think um, you've kind of found that in like what you've been looking into and researching, that most carry the narrative that it's a negative phase of life rather than seeing it as a stepping into an abundant phase of life.
Yes, as a beautiful thing, actually.
Mm.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I mean, you know, like you said, there's a grieving process
Mm-hmm.
for stepping out of something that was very beautiful, and of course, you love your child or children. Um, but yeah, there is very much not a recognition that this is something equally beautiful
Mm-hmm.
and so needed in the world for women who have gone through the mother stage and stepping into this other stage to be role models, to be there in the world, to make their own unique contribution as individuals. And it is unique, right? Not everybody is doing the same thing, but a unique contribution that can be felt, can have ripples in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the vision of ripples in the world. Because that's the thing, right? I think when we kind of get told that we need to skip that phase because that's the kind of language that's out there, we forget that we have purpose other than being mother. We forget that, you know, it's a time of accumulating all the wisdom steps that you've taken to get to this phase of your life, and how can you mold and integrate them into something else that is uniquely you, so that you can bring it out into the world and not be still trying to be the mother. Because I kind of went through a little phase of that. And we were talking about the interference that can happen of wanting to still play that role, but like you said, it creates conflict.
It really does.
Because your children are growing into adults and you have to look at them as adults, not as children. And you have to relate to them as that, and allow them to find their own way and their own path. But often we get this thing of the meddling kind of mother. Not that I was that, but I still wanted to interject because it's all I knew.
Right. That's what we see, right? That's what we see out there. That's the narrative, like on whether it's TV shows or in our own experience. That's the by and large what we see in the world. But that we don't have to do anything. We can meddle and continue to try to be there and give the advice, but there's a really big consequence on the relationship that we're then able to have with our child, because they're going to feel things and they're going to consciously or unconsciously make decisions about, well, then how much do I tell mom? And how close can I really be with mom? Because I know that any opening that I give, she's going to, dive in and like tell me what to do. And that's, I don't think anybody is, anybody that's doing that is aware and conscious, but that's what's happening. And until it stops, there's not an opening for a very strong adult to adult relationship.
Because that space that we try and fill, again, that focus is not meant to be on the children, it's meant to be on ourselves. This is why we change hormonally, energetically, at that time. It's because our hormone imprint goes the other way so that we can feel the fullness of ourselves, but also create space to feel the fullness of ourselves. Slow down. Our bodies want to slow down. Our thoughts want to slow down. Our sense of self wants to slow down so that we can create space for the magic to come through. But again, when we're interfering, we don't give ourselves space.
Right, we're sort of stuck in that past narrative of what we think we have to do, the speed we have to keep up, the involvement we have to have with our child. And I love that you're bringing out that our bodies are cueing us. Like, we don't have to listen, we can ignore it, but at our own peril, physically, relationally, I mean, mentally, there's a toll when you think there's something wrong with you. I don't have all the energy that I used to have. I can't do everything I used to do. Now, if I try to, I get sick. What's wrong with me? Like, nothing is wrong with you. You just don't, you're not tuning into that and being in partnership with your body. You're trying to fight it.
Yeah.
So I love that, we're having this conversation, and maybe this is starting to come out a little bit more into the world, because I know it wasn't there for our moms, for sure,
For sure. And in a way, I don't think it was really there for me anyway. It wasn't there for me. I had to go and dig out information and seek assistance from elders to really understand what elderhood meant, what it meant to leave the gateways of motherhood and not like skip like the maid and mother crone. It's like, no, there's a whole phase, a whole season of living that really has got so many mixed messages that it can be, yeah, tuning into a lot of noise and distortion. And often that noise and distortions comes from a perspective that that period of life somehow makes women more victimized. And for me, that's just not the truth. That one, I want to live or um, permeate throughout the collective anymore, because it is one of the most potent, powerful, um, yeah, aspects of being a woman.
Yeah, I physically feel, it's not like I feel in my body that it's the exact opposite. It
Hmm.
is such a powerful phase of
Yeah.
life. You need to be able to be willing to take a step and let it be, let it become. It's not instantaneous, but for sure, that's not how women, empty nesting women, are counseled. It's more like, to me, it feels like the general mass counsel is more like when someone close to you dies,
Hmm.
somebody, like your or parent or grandparent dies, and it's like, okay, the grieving process should be over. Let's go. Let's get back to it. Come on. Like and you know what? It's not so good to just wallow in it. Okay. Get back to work. The distraction is good for you. It will help you get
Hmm.
back to where you were. Like
Yeah.
that feels like the narrative. Like,
Mm.
okay, like what hobbies do you like? Da da da. That's fine. And doing things you like is important. And whatever your contribution is should be something that you love, that brings you joy to bring into the world. But simple surface level distractions is not what we're talking about.
No, and I think that again, like you use the H word, as I call it, the hobbies, like as if that's all that there is. We got to get some hobbies here, and it's
Right.
like, no, we need to hone in to this fire that wants to rise in our bodies and our beings as we shift energetically out of the transition of being mother into something more. It isn't less, it is more.
Yes.
And I'd really love you to talk about the way that you did it, because you made a conscious choice to skedoodle
Yes.
that time and embrace it fully. So I'd love you to talk about that.
Sure, sure. So I am very happily married, and I, maybe should have said that in the very beginning, but so I don't want to make it. I don't want to misrepresent that this was solely my decision or my idea or what have you. It was a conversation that we started having, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago. Like, oh, when the kids are done with school, where do we want to go? Where do we want to be? And we went from just like crazy town, like, oh, let's move to Scotland, because we love Scotland. And then as time went on, our love for Scotland did not diminish, but we started to really be like, okay, do we want to put the whole pond, right, of the Atlantic Ocean between us and our kids? That felt too big. And so we started really experimenting, and and my husband does not like the extreme heat. So we landed on Maine. We had been living in Pennsylvania, and we landed on Maine, and that's a 7-hour drive. So it's
Mhm.
not insignificant, but it was a process, and we started vacationing and things like that. And then, you know, it was the same year that our younger was graduating high school that we put our house on the market, and we were not messing around. We were not giving like a whole, we weren't waiting around.
Mhm.
We did it, and it was not, it was definitely not easy. Energetically, it was probably the hardest thing that I did um, intentionally,
Mhm.
definitely. But it was the right thing, and we knew it, and even our sons knew it. And um, if they were here, they would say like, "Oh, we're so happy that they did what they wanted to do," and we love to visit, and we would all love to see each other more. But it was the right thing for us, and it just, I mean, I feel like I'm living in fairy tale land where
Mhm.
I am. It's amazing. The scenery, the energy, the people, the place, the physical house where we live and what we get to look at. It is amazing, and it's nourishing. And so I think, my story is unique to me, but what I would like to bring out that I want not to be unique to me is finding what nourishes you, no
Mhm.
matter what that is,
Yeah.
and really going for it. And if it means, in a way, spending a little less time so close, or something, it is about you. It's about you giving yourself what you need. This is the time
Yeah.
to do that.
Because that's the shift, right? You are no longer mothering your children. You are learning to mother and nourish yourself.
Amen.
Unfortunately, we've been raised in a world where we're not taught to nourish ourselves, not in a deep soul nourishing way. We're taught to soothe ourselves,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to pamper ourselves, you know,
Right.
to do lots of other things rather than that deep nourishment that you're talking about, that is like mother's nourishment, you know,
Yes.
for yourself as a mother. You've been outpouring to family, children, lots of other things. And this transition is about you. But I
Amen.
think what happens is we're not taught how to nourish ourselves. So it does and can, I will say, not does, it can feel like crisis because for the first time, you have to look at all the ways that you haven't nourished yourself, all the ways that you've overgiven, all the ways that you've given yourself away, all the ways that you've not really taken care of you, or even the fact that you don't even know how to take care of you, or what it is that you like or love to
Mm-hmm.
do, or what would give you that deep sense of self and nourishment. So that is the quest that I call it. That is the rite of passage. You are going on a finder's quest. And that was kind of my process, as in, even though I did things for myself and I had, friends and hobbies, that the H word, hobbies. I had hobbies and I thought I had a really nourishing, fulfilling life. When my last child left home, it was like, oh, I don't think I'm actually doing the things that I want to do. I'm doing the things that I thought I had to do, that fit in around everybody else, that
Mm-hmm.
gave me a sense of like some satisfaction, but weren't fully satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and that stillness that came into the house when there was only me in it was like a whole different ball game. It was like, oh my God, I can hear myself. I can hear myself, and what I'm saying isn't, you know, anything that I'd really like to say to myself. I
Right.
don't.
It's echoing back. It's
It's
just
echoing back, and it's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm actually living my life, or
right.
I've always
Yes.
kept close to home or come back to home because it's like I am the hub of the home. And so when that kind of goes, it's like, right, you can sit and wallow. You can feel sorry for yourself. You can do lots of things on that level, which is, I think, a lot of the narrative that goes through the collective now around you're losing something, you're getting old, you're, losing, the sense of your being and body and role in the world. And it's like, no, you are gaining something. And it took effort for me to actually seek elders that had gone through this process, because I didn't want to become elderly or,
Right.
plod.
That word is very different, isn't it? Just LY.
Yeah.
Yes.
And just move through and do something that felt good. It was like, no, I really want to connect to my soul's vision. This is a vision quest. This is a quest of finding the deeper meaning to why I am here.
That's amazing.
And opening up to that. And it took effort to, one, find elders that could talk to me on that level. And I think we spoke about that there is a different energetic of an elder. They have a quiet knowing, they're not telling you, they're not even giving you any answers, but they're listening and giving you a seed of wisdom for you then to go on this quest, because the threshold of this emptiness can feel like loneliness.
Yes.
But we need to shift the narrative around. It is creating space for you to discover you.
Yes.
It may feel lonely because you've had, the sense of home and things around you, but you are being orientated back to home within yourself, back to mother within yourself, and back to the original reason you came to the planet. That's how
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
see
exactly. I would love to speak about that mother within yourself, because um, I think a lot of moms going through empty nest, if y- we were to ask, okay, well, what will make you really happy? Like, they don't know, because they have not yet embraced the space, and
it.
it's almost like they think they have to think the answer,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
for me, that's not how it was. For
Mm.
me, it was opening up to a different identity, but also like a future, even older self, right?
Mhm.
Like um, divine mother goddess but my own. And when I opened that up, I mean, things started coming that necessarily
Mhm.
I didn't consciously want.
Mm.
And so my work now and the brand that I'm building is one example of that. Like, I didn't think that up. It came, and sometimes very small things come, very small knowings. And
Mhm.
then I have no idea why they're coming. And then a couple of hours later, I'll be like, oh, that's why I reached for that. Thank you. It's not, you
Yeah.
don't have to think, you have to allow the space for the the transmissions to come through, really.
Mhm. Yeah, you've hit a really poignant thing here, because after I kind of went through that threshold and before I really dove into the concept of being elder, it was like I had this notion in my head that, oh, this is going to be such a fun time. I can go off and travel, I can do this and da da da, all the things I thought I wanted. And as you said, no, when you really tune in, the things that come, it's like you're not necessarily thinking, oh my God, this is what I want to do. It's but it's almost like this is your soul contract. This is the thing where you're now creating space for those transmissions to come through. When it's not a logical thing, you can't think your way out of this threshold. You have to get with the body and you have to feel. This is why your body is changing, not because it's just getting older. It is changing energetically so you can hold the full blueprint of who you are as a woman. And that includes the things that were originally imprinted in you that come to you, like you said, you didn't expect to be creating like a vision in a business, whatever. I didn't expect to become a writer and do all the things but it was like these things came knocking on my door to me, like
Like a
this is
calling.
a calling, this is your job, this is what's asking to be birthed through you. And I was so far away from thinking I could be a writer because, all my dyslexia and everything, but it was like, it was insistent. This is the path you are taking if you want to be in alignment with your full truth and full womanhood. And like for you, because it's like, who would have thought that this would be the thing that you're creating around assisting and helping women rechange the narrative around what emptiness is, and even changing the word emptiness to,
See, I like quest. I think quest
yeah,
has to be in
the
there.
quest, yeah,
Yes, like maybe another adjective, like exciting quest or discovery quest or something, as opposed to empty nest. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because as you said before, we were speaking about nature. It's like, you know, there is a time when mama bird drops the chicks out of the nest. It's like it's meant to be empty. It's meant
Right.
to, we're meant to all shift along that
Mm-hmm.
threshold,
Mm-hmm.
including our children. Otherwise, we get what we see in the world now, where we're all, as adults, having to work on our inner children because we never had that space to fully grow into that.
Mm-hmm. And
Um,
process it.
and process it because we've kind of lost what's the word, our connection. We've lost our connection to like the rites of passage of child, adult,
Yeah.
you know,
It's very true.
into
It's
out.
very true. And when I look around, I see so much evidence of that. And there's a really big opportunity for the mothers who are beginning that
Mm,
stepping into the journey to change the narrative for their whole ancestral line and for
mm,
everybody who's coming after in their
yeah.
family. So I just I feel in my body that mothers are like a very key, powerful portal
Mm,
for this time
mm,
on our planet.
yeah. Yeah, we are I say, the micro of the macro of the great mother that is like birthing through the planet now, through all of us, through nature, through us as individuals, through everything.
Mhm.
She's the thing that created all life. And we need to see that stepping through that threshold is, yeah, like you said, has a very, very important part to play in this time. So I kind of just want you to speak into why you're doing what you're doing now. What is it that you want for the women that come to you through this threshold? Because I know that it's your mission to change this, because like you said, we are, this phase of our life, we are so needed at this time. It's like we haven't got time anymore to be like these flick, whimsical kind of, I don't know what I'm doing kind of thing. It's like we have to energetically get
Yeah.
erect with ourselves as women.
Yes, yes, yes. From that whole like damsel in distress, like I
Yeah.
need help, I need therapy, I need like whatever it is. I'm
Mm.
not enough.
There's an
Um,
ownership that has to come, and I'll speak to that in a minute about how it came to me. But yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I what I really want and what for me I see as the true stepping into this phase and fully embodying this phase as a mother who's gone on this quest is that you feel internally, physically, emotionally, all the ways you feel energetically whole, and you love all of the pieces, because there's so many pieces, right? There's so many pieces that make us up, and you love and you honor and embrace all of the pieces. And when your sort of your center of gravity is internal, you can't be shaken and swayed and sort of blown around like in a way that is scary. Like, sure, you can adapt and you can flex and you can get hurt, but you know you're going to be okay through whatever it is, whatever it is. And that is the transition that I know is possible for every single mother, and that I am excited to guide them and hold them through, not to dictate the step. Okay, do this, do that. No, we don't need to be dictated to. We need a hand to hold. We need space that we know is safe to be in, to open up in, and it's a process. But to get to that space where we're not calibrating to the external anymore.
Yeah.
No matter what the external thing is, we're calibrating internally, and we're showing up from that place.
And it's so important at this time as the world gets louder. As the world gets louder, it's kind of imperative to know the ground that you stand in. Your specific kind of anchor into life, the truth of you.
Exactly, the truth of you. Yes, and the groundedness. Yes, all of that. Yes, and it's true. The world is getting louder, so it's more important than ever.
Yeah, absolutely. And on an energetic level, it took me a while to get into that resonance with myself. And it wasn't until my daughter got pregnant that I fully felt the energetic resonance of, oh, I have to like really come into my full erect elderhood now. Even if it's at the gateway of elderhood, it's like energetically, I felt that another generation coming in front of me, and me being bumped along the ancestral line, and realizing that there was no more messing about. It's like I couldn't pretend to myself that I didn't know what I was doing, wasn't doing anymore. It's like I have to know what I'm doing now, because my daughter is becoming a mother herself, and so I have to get out of the energetic field of mother and let her stand in front of me and become the one behind, the elder, holding the fort, holding the thing. So I couldn't tell myself anymore that I didn't have the capacity, that I didn't have the energy, that I didn't have the know-how of how to be a woman in my body that is becoming like the matriarch of the family. It's like, it's just not it.
It's not an option.
It's not an option. And it was a learning process because I didn't know how to do that energy. Like you said, I had to feel each step in the body. I think what happens is when that happens, we're not taught how to embody that energetically. So a lot of interference can happen in that you still want to play the role of mother in your child's life, but she's becoming mother. So you need to step back and allow her to find her way and let her come to you. If she needs wisdom and knowledge, you have to be the elder that holds the wisdom and the knowledge, not the interfering mother that needs
Exactly.
to
So she
tell
can
her
ask you.
how to do it your way. And this is where a lot of conflict comes, because when you're doing that, you're still energetically holding on to the role of mother and seeing your child as your, whether it's a daughter or son, as a child, rather than talking to them adult to adult.
Exactly. Exactly. And by doing moving through what you just said, what you just described, by moving through it, you are you are basically the fertile field for a new level of relationship to
Mm-hmm.
happen.
Yeah.
And the sooner you can do that, I mean, the
Mm.
better, because your child will feel it. They will
Yeah.
feel all of it.
They feel it.
Um,
How did that work with your sons? Because they were, just coming through their teen years. So for them to see you as a mother holding that no, this is something I need to do for me to move into the full energetics of myself as woman and with your husband. But it was like, how was it for them? How did the relationship change? Or did it?
so I mean, it's definitely different now, right? Than when, specifically my younger son, he was living at home with us almost right up until we moved. He moved into his own place just before we
Mm-hmm.
moved.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he we had a conversation that was, what do you want to do? Here's how we're prepared to support you and for
Mm-hmm.
how long. And it was this very um, allowing conversation of his choices and things like that. And it was interesting because he went through a whole process. He thought that things would be a certain way at the beginning of his of that journey, and a year later he was like, wow, I learned some things about myself. And now the two of them are living together, and so that's wonderful. And that's nothing that came from any suggestion from us. It happened organically, which
Mm-hmm.
is far more powerful. So things have changed, and they've felt, I just know they haven't told me this, but they've felt empowered to make, their own decisions. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I can't see you anymore on my screen, but I'll just keep going.
Okay.
um, so they, yeah, it was this beautiful, like, symbiotic type of thing, whereas we shifted and had conversations, they were shifting, and we were allowing more space for them to discover on their own, and they are. And yeah, it's
Mm.
different because we're not seeing everything that they're going through or experiencing, or in
Mm.
decisions that they're making, but that's how it's meant to be.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's been beautiful.
Yeah, and like you said, you create space for them to take up space, to move into adulthood. And
Exactly.
and this is the thing. And you also have to see them as adults. It's like
Yes.
you can't be like thinking, oh my God, are they going to be okay? Don't know that. It's like you have to put trust in them, which means you put trust in yourself and the process that they will learn to fly on their own.
Yes, trust is a very,
Yeah,
very big part of this.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. I'm just conscious. Can you see me? No. No.
I know I'm trying to, like, close other things down, but I can't. I don't. I can't. Let there's. Nope, I don't know.
No,
It's okay. It's totally fine though.
it's all right. Maybe that's a sign. It's a sign that's so funny. But yeah. Um
This has been like a very rich conversation.
yeah. I'm just gonna feel in and see if there's anything else that wants to be
Sounds good.
said. Um I think we kind of covered a lot. And yeah, I just want to say about what you're creating and that I see the value and the importance of it.
Thank you.
I really do, which is why I asked you to come along, because it's really important that, for me anyway, the work that I do is about helping women transition into deeper aspects of themselves. And it's it's almost like a missing art form, because like we said, we don't get initiated into rites of passage anymore. We don't have like it's just an everyday standard that of course we're going to go through these like thresholds of women. We change every single day, you know.
Right.
And so the one that you're like focusing on to assist women is huge. It's so big, and it's so needed, because like I said, it's like it's almost like it's been written out of the narrative in a positive way, in a good way, where we can then assist humanity with all this power that we now have surging through us, and so that when we move into this phase, we're not burning up with hot flushes and whatever else nonsense that goes on in the body, because we don't know what to do with that surge of fire that now turns in, that wants to fuel the passion of our hearts and our existence and assist the planet. And like you said, plug in. We are meant to be plugged into life at that, not detaching from life because it feels scary that we're somehow, like you said, trying to go backwards to fit the old pattern and to fit the image of youth that we used to have. We are transitioning into a new phase, and it can be so beautiful and so powerful and potent. It's like, this is the best time I'm ever having in my life right now, because I'm discovering myself. I'm discovering this creative force that just wants to do and create, not for
Yes.
itself but for humanity.
Yes.
And
Birthing other things.
that's the missing piece, because the essence of woman, the essence of mother, is being like so diluted in the collective and so like almost erased out. It's like we need that essence to come through women to infuse the field. And so work like what you're, going to be bringing forward is so important, so that women don't have to go through such a long transition, and they can, um, yeah,
Well, they don't have to go through such a long transition, or so that they can go through a transition, like step
yeah,
through instead
true,
of being frozen and trying to
yeah,
go back.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah, I think the words that just came to me is that women can scare each other around this phase, talking about all the negative things that can happen to the body and the threshold and the feeling of loss or loneliness. But I
Yes.
was saying earlier that to shift the sense of loss into you're discovering new things. It's not a loss, you're discovering new things, and change the sense of loneliness into you're learning to be sovereign unto yourself,
Yes.
to be with
The
yourself.
loneliness is giving you space to create, to contemplate. Definitely. And when you said that we can scare each other, it's almost like we could scare each other about going through labor to
Yeah,
have a baby,
that's another
right?
thing. just done a call on that. But yeah, around the birthing thing, that it can be such a beautiful process. But again, we've been bought this narrative that it's meant to be freaking scary, and we don't know what to do with our bodies and all that malarkey. We do know what to do with our bodies. We've just forgotten, and we can really remember, the threshold of what happens when we move out of motherhood into something more vast, because our energy field gets faster and bigger. It doesn't shrink. We don't become invisible if we choose.
I love that, Coco. Our energy field becomes more vast. It's not as focused, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's focused in some way, but it definitely opens up.
Yeah. It opens up. Yeah. Let's change that into that suddenly we're meant to shrink. We're not. We're meant to get bigger and bolder and wiser.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I know that you're going through a process now where you're kind of interviewing people, and I'm not sure, are you open to other people getting in contact? So do you want to tell people a little bit about what you're doing?
Yes, absolutely.
And how to find you so that they can do that?
Yeah, how can they find me? So on Instagram, I am Theresa.Puckett. And I am going to, on my bio site, I'm going to put the link where you can, if you are a mom who is staring down staring at empty nesting or going through it. I am doing market research interviews to talk to more moms because I really want to do that, have a richer understanding of what is important, what you're feeling, what you're going through, your challenges, as I'm creating ways to help and offers to help, whether they are group, small group, large group, what have you. So if you are hearing this and you're resonating with this time of life and what we've been talking about, I would really value having a 40-minute one-on-one with you where I could ask you some questions and hear about your experience and discover what's important to you right now.
Amazing. Is there a time scale that you're doing that in? Just
there's more. I'm going to be trying to wrap up in probably 3 months or so. I'm trying to give myself space. It might extend a bit more. I don't want it to go on too much longer than that. So so that's probably the right time scale.
Fantastic. And I will put the links in the show notes.
Perfect.
So that people can find you as well. Amazing. Thank you so much, Theresa.
Thank you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. I just love bringing the women that have been on the journey with me over the last few years into the fold and bringing their perspectives around their journey with motherhood and with how they're tapping into the medicine of mother themselves now. So I really, really appreciate you coming on.
It's been my pleasure, my honor, really, to be here. And I love that, your mission and the space you're holding is very vast for women. So I love that, and I am so happy to have been here.
Thank you, my love.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on Sirens of the Mother, podcast where we wax lyrical about all things mother, from the divine to the downright dirty.